The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, has been around for more than 100 years and was built as a posh getaway for the wealthy seeking solitude in the mountains. As the years passed, however, occupancy declined, and by the 1970s, the Grand Hotel had fallen into disrepair. It was around that time that famed author Stephen King spent the night there and was inspired to write the book The Shining. The book and blockbuster film helped return the Stanley to its former glory. Now, guests come in droves to see the hotel that inspired one of the scariest horror movies of all time. Given its history, it should come as no surprise that many visitors report strange happenings. Aware of the ghostly rumors, Texas resident Henry Yao booked a last-minute getaway in April of 2016 to check it out. After arriving, Yao had dinner, then wandered around the Stanley to take photos. Stopping at the staircase, he waited for people to clear the area, then took a picture, thinking nothing of it. "I felt really sick. I had the shivers. I was like, something's really wrong." Henry Yao, the ghost of the Stanley Hotel. Later that night, however, Yao fell seriously ill. "I felt really sick. I had the shivers. I was like, something's really wrong," he tells Today.com. His companion suggested he go to the emergency room, but Yao refused. On the trip home, Yao began swiping through the photos he'd taken when he discovered what he said was a really strange image of someone standing on the stairs. Except no one had been there. The next day, he posted the photo on Instagram, half joking that he'd captured a ghost, and the world took notice. Almost overnight, Yao found himself in the limelight, with his ghost picture warranting attention from global media outlets and paranormal experts who wanted to examine the photo. Some experts say that there's two ghosts, and other people said that the reason I got sick is because the ghost was trying to materialize, taking energy out of me, he said. "There's so many theories about this." And what does Yao think? "I have no idea," he says with a laugh. After a quick dinner at the hotel's restaurant, Henry felt restless. The air had taken on a sharp chill, and the wind whispered through the trees. Sarah texted that she was running late, stuck in traffic. Left to his own devices, Henry grabbed his camera and decided to explore. The halls were quiet, too quiet. His footsteps echoed as he walked past ornate doors, faded carpets, and antique portraits whose eyes seemed to follow him. The lights flickered now and then. Not unusual in an old building, he told himself. But the temperature in the hallways dropped inexplicably as he ascended each floor. He made his way to the grand staircase, an iconic spot within the Stanley. He waited patiently for a pair of elderly tourists to pass, then raised his camera. He snapped a single photo. Click. Just as he pressed the shutter, he felt it. A cold gust of air behind him. He turned, but no one was there. Still, a chill settled into his spine. Shrugging it off, he returned to his room, where Sarah had finally arrived. She asked how his ghost hunt was going. "Nothing weird," he said. "Just some old creaks and cold air." They turned in for the night around midnight, but Henry couldn't sleep. He felt watched. The shadows seemed to crawl across the ceiling, and more than once he heard the faintest sound of whispering, like a voice carried on the wind, but inside the room. At 2:37 a.m. he sat up in bed, drenched in sweat. Something was wrong. The sun dipped behind the jagged Colorado mountains as Henry Yao's rental car wound its way up the narrow road to Estes Park. The Stanley Hotel stood like a relic from a forgotten time, perched atop the hillside, with its white facade glowing faintly in the golden twilight. Its many windows caught the last rays of light, resembling hundreds of watching eyes. Henry had read about the hotel in travel blogs, seen clips of it on ghost hunting shows, and of course, knew it as the real-life inspiration for Stephen King's The Shining. He wasn't exactly a believer in the supernatural, more of a skeptic with a taste for the morbid. So when he found a last-minute vacancy for a weekend stay in April 2016, he jumped on it. He was traveling alone. His companion, Sarah, was a friend from Denver who would meet him later in the evening. For now, it was just him, the looming hotel, and the stillness of the mountain air. He parked his car and stood for a moment, watching fog slowly begin to roll in from the trees behind the property. A raven cawed from a lamppost. The front doors creaked open, and Henry stepped into the lobby. It smelled of aged wood and lavender polish. The reception desk, lined with brass and marble, was manned by a clerk who smiled too widely. "Welcome to the Stanley, Mr. Yao," the clerk said, sliding a keycard across the counter. Room 217, 4th floor. Enjoy your stay. Thanks, Henry replied, glancing toward the staircase. Anything I should know about the room? The clerk's smile faltered for half a second. Only that it's one of our most historic rooms. Henry grinned. That's exactly what he'd hoped for. The moment Henry posted the staircase photo to Instagram, he didn't expect much. A caption, half a joke, read, "Guess I caught one of the hotel's ghosts, Stanley Hotel, The Shining, WTF." But the reaction was immediate. Within hours, the post exploded. Comments poured in, hundreds, then thousands. Paranormal forums reposted it. News outlets picked it up. Experts in digital photography demanded to analyze the image. Skeptics called it a clever hoax. Believers saw it as undeniable proof. Henry's inbox was flooded. He turned off notifications, but even that didn't help. Something about the figure in the image was different. It wasn't blurry or half-formed like most ghost photos. It was solid, tangible, and the more he stared at it, the sicker he felt. He started dreaming of her. Night after night, she stood at the top of the staircase, veiled and still, unmoving but somehow aware. He couldn't see her face beneath the fabric, but her presence felt angry, resentful. His sleep became a horror show of shifting shadows, footsteps outside his door, and the overwhelming sense of being hunted. Sarah grew concerned. "You need to delete that photo," she said. "I can't," Henry whispered. "It's not finished." Henry tried to return to his normal life in Texas, but the sickness stayed with him. Doctors found nothing. Blood work was fine, heart-lungs perfect, but the fatigue clung like a parasite. He began losing weight. He heard whispers when no one was there. And the photo, it changed. A week after posting it, Henry opened the original on his laptop to find something new. The woman in black had moved. She was higher on the stairs now, head tilted further, her face almost visible beneath the veil. The grain of the image warped near her hands, as if she were reaching out. His breath caught. He scrolled back through older versions, screenshots, thumbnails, but they were all the same now. She had moved in every copy. That night, Henry awoke to the sound of a woman weeping in his hallway. He rose slowly. The apartment was dark, eerily quiet. He crept to the bedroom door and opened it a crack. There, at the end of the hallway, was the woman from the photo. Stilled, reaching, he slammed the door and didn't sleep again that night. Desperate, Henry contacted a paranormal investigator who had reached out through email, a woman named Dr. Evelyn Voss, an expert on haunted locations and spectral imprints. They spoke via video call. "You've captured something rare," she said, analyzing the photo. "This isn't a residual haunting. It's a manifestation. Intelligent. Aware. What does that mean?" "It means she knows you saw her, and now she sees you." Dr. Voss had visited the Stanley Hotel many times. She explained that room 217 had a history. In 1911, a housekeeper named Elizabeth Wilson had nearly died there during a gas explosion. She recovered, but years later, guests started reporting sightings of a woman folding their clothes, turning down beds, or brushing past them in the halls. But the figure in Henry's photo wasn't Wilson. "She's older," Dr. Voss said. "Victorian era. This dress style is at least 40 years before the hotel was built. And that veil, it's mourning attire. She's not a servant. She's a widow." Henry remembered something. The clerk's comment when he checked in. "One of our most historic rooms. What if she died there? Before the hotel was built? Before anything was here at all?" Dr. Voss leaned in, her voice low. "Then the land itself is haunted." Desperate, Henry contacted a paranormal investigator who had reached out through email, a woman named Dr. Evelyn Voss, an expert on haunted locations and spectral imprints. They spoke via video call. "You've captured something rare," she said, analyzing the photo. "This isn't a residual haunting. It's a manifestation. Intelligent. Aware. What does that mean?" "It means she knows you saw her, and now she sees you." Dr. Voss had visited the Stanley Hotel many times. She explained that room 217 had a history. In 1911, a housekeeper named Elizabeth Wilson had nearly died there during a gas explosion. She recovered, but years later, guests started reporting sightings of a woman folding their clothes, turning down beds, or brushing past them in the halls. But the figure in Henry's photo wasn't Wilson. "She's older," Dr. Voss said. "Victorian era. This dress style is at least 40 years before the hotel was built. And that veil, it's mourning attire. She's not a servant. She's a widow." Henry remembered something. The clerk's comment when he checked in. "One of our most historic rooms. What What if she died there, before the hotel was built, before anything was here at all? Dr. Voss leaned in, her voice low. Then the land itself is haunted. By the second week, Henry was barely recognizable. His skin was pale as paper, lips cracked, eyes bloodshot and sunken. He'd stopped responding to texts, stopped working. He spoke to no one except Sarah and occasionally her. The woman no one else could see. One night, Henry collapsed in his hallway, convulsing as the lights above him flickered violently. Sarah rushed him to the ER, but the doctors found nothing. Again, they suggested stress, exhaustion, possible psychosis, but Sarah had seen the changes in the photo too. She'd heard the whispers at night. She'd seen the outline of a shadow slip past her in the mirror when she was alone. Finally, Henry made a decision. There was only one way to stop it. "I have to go back," he said. Sarah tried to talk him out of it, but he was resolute. Whatever she was, she hadn't finished with him. And if he didn't find answers, he would die, or worse. So on a gray morning wrapped in fog and silence, Henry returned to the place where it all began, the Stanley Hotel. When Henry walked into the lobby, the air felt thicker, like it resisted him. The same clerk was at the desk, his face unreadable. "I was here in April," Henry said. "Room 217. I need to see it again." The clerk hesitated. "That room is being refurbished. We don't allow guests in there right now." Henry's expression darkened. "Then give me the key. I'm not a guest, I'm finishing something." After a long pause, the clerk slid him the key. "Stay on the path," he muttered. "Don't follow her." The hotel was eerily silent. Henry ascended the staircase slowly, each step a struggle. The carpet felt damp beneath his feet. The lights flickered overhead. Room 217 was at the end of the hallway. The door creaked open. Inside, the room looked normal, cleaned, maintained, untouched. Except the air was wrong. It smelled faintly of roses and decay. Coldness crawled up Henry's arms, prickling his skin with static. And then he saw her, standing in the corner, watching him, the woman in black. Henry didn't scream, he didn't run. He simply stared. "I came back," he whispered. "I need to know why you followed me." The woman didn't speak, but the air around her vibrated with tension, like the hum of unseen machinery. The lights dimmed. Henry pulled a small recorder from his coat pocket. He pressed record. "Who are you?" he asked. "Silence. What do you want?" Silence. A long pause. Then a whisper, faint as breath. "You opened the door." The temperature dropped 10 degrees. Frost spread across the windows. Henry's breath came out in plumes. His recorder short-circuited and died in his hand. Suddenly, the wallpaper began peeling itself from the walls. Beneath it, blackened wood, scarred, blood-stained. Henry turned slowly toward the bed and saw something that would break him. The bed had been pulled away from the wall, revealing a sealed door, short, narrow, like a passage for children or servants. Henry knelt and pressed his hand against it. Cold as ice. Then it opened. Inside was a narrow crawl space, pitch black. The smell was unbearable, rot, old earth, iron. He pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. What he saw made him gag. Tiny bones, dolls with missing eyes, scraps of lace and fabric, black lace, mourning clothes. The walls were carved with dozens of names, some in chalk, others scratched into the wood with fingernails. And in the farthest corner, barely visible, was a crumbling photograph of a young woman in Victorian dress. Henry recognized her instantly. It was her. He backed out of the crawl space, gasping for air. He knew what this was now. Not just a ghost, a grudge. She had been buried here, sealed away, forgotten, and now she'd latched onto the first person who truly saw her. As Henry turned to leave, the door slammed shut. The lights went out. In the mirror, she stood behind him again, closer than ever. "Stay with me," she whispered. He couldn't breathe. His limbs locked. His mind screamed. Suddenly, Sarah burst in through the hallway, flashlight in hand, her voice cutting through the darkness. "Henry, come on!" But the woman wouldn't let go. She stood between him and the exit, veil lifting slowly to reveal nothing. A black void where her face should be. Sarah grabbed Henry's arm and yanked him through the door. As they stumbled out, the lights returned, and the hallway was empty. The woman was gone. For now. They didn't speak much on the drive down from the mountains. Henry sat slumped in the passenger seat, eyes hollow, one hand gripping his phone like a lifeline. Sarah drove in silence, hands trembling on the wheel. The hotel faded in the rearview mirror, but something in both of them knew. It hadn't really let them go. The moment they reached cell service, Henry opened the photo again. He nearly dropped the phone. The woman was gone. The staircase was empty. Ordinary, normal, no veil, no shadow, no trace. At first, Henry thought maybe it was over, that by returning, by facing her, he had somehow set her free. Or maybe she had decided to release him. But later that night, as he lay in bed at home, exhausted but finally at peace, he noticed something strange. In the far corner of the room, where the shadows gathered deepest, the air shimmered. Just slightly, and then he heard it. That same whisper, closer this time. You opened the door. Weeks passed. The story went viral again. Podcasts covered it. Paranormal YouTubers made hour-long breakdowns of the photograph. Some dismissed it as a clever edit. Others called it the most convincing ghost photo of the decade. Henry stopped giving interviews. He deleted the image from his Instagram, deleted the post, deleted the app, but it didn't matter. Others had saved it, shared it, circulated it, and everywhere the photo went, people started reporting strange things. Devices freezing while viewing the image, seeing a veiled woman in dreams, finding black lace fabric in odd places, smelling roses and rot at night. The woman in black was no longer bound to the Stanley. Henry had become a vessel, and through him she had escaped. 6 months later, Sarah received a package. No return address, just her name, handwritten in perfect calligraphy. Inside a flash drive, one file, a recording dated the night Henry returned to the Stanley. She plugged it into her laptop and pressed play. At first only static, then breathing, then a voice. She's not a ghost. She's something older, something hungry. She lives where grief grows, in the cracks, in the cold, in the forgotten. I let her in. I'm sorry. And then scratching, louder, then screaming. The file ended abruptly. Sarah never saw Henry again. No one did. You read this story, you saw the photo in your mind. You pictured the staircase, didn't you? You imagined her veil. You wondered what her face looked like. You felt the air grow colder. You opened the door. If tonight you hear footsteps where there should be none, if you catch a glimpse of black lace in the corner of your eye, if your reflection lags behind your movements in the mirror, don't turn around, because she is watching, and now she knows your name.